This is the Creality K1C, and you'd be forgiven for thinking that this is a repeat. This is the K1, but with added C. Let's go. Creality's K1 series has been out for around 9 months, give or take, with the K1 first coming out in around 2023, and the K1 Max following around 2023. There was only a couple of months between them. This K1C is the K1 with some, well, fixers. Or are they unfixers? And will the K1C get a Max version? K1C Max? K1 Max C? Who knows? First up, there's one obvious new thing here. We now have a camera on the K1C. This was an optional upgrade that I did actually do to my K1 because Creality sent the kit, so my K1 here has the camera, but the original didn't. They did supply a kit to some of the early buyers for I think for a nominal price, like $1 or something. This, of course, unlocks the potential for things like spaghetti detection and the other so-called AI features, like knowing if the last print is still on the bed before you start the next one, at least in theory. I thought that there's still no filter on the back for the fumes or the LiDAR like the K1 Max has, although I'm told that with respect to the LiDAR, that is an optional upgrade that will be available, and my opinion is that if that doesn't cost too much, it's probably worth buying, as I do find the K1 Max does work better in terms of bed meshing, which I think might be a LiDAR thing, so you get a better first layer. I can see the LiDAR visibly scanning the bed on the K1 Max when you start a print. In terms of the carbon filter, it turns out that that was either me losing it somewhere, or more likely it just went missing in the box. Creality are sending me a new filter and casing, so I will get that in due course. It's very similar to the K1 Max one in overall material, but it looks a different size and casing shape from what I can see. It just clips on the back. I don't know how well it will work. So, as always, if you're printing contentious filaments like ABS or ASA, then it's important to ensure that you ventilate anyway. The big thing on the K1C, or at least the headline, is the new extruder and hotend combo. Looking at the extruder first, we have some claims on the product page of an all-metal extruder, and this has been causing some debate because it depends. Well, first of all, I think Creality have said they're going to remove the wording, but also it depends on how you define the word all. This is kind of like how baked goods are declared as all butter, which obviously they're not, because that would just be butter. But I don't think it's even that, because I think it's just a marketing error. But to be honest, I don't think it matters at all. Of course, it's always a good idea to get your marketing information correct, but there you go. The nozzle similarly is new. Actually, it's entirely new, so at the moment you can't get one, which is a problem if you happen to blowtorch yours by accident somehow. It could happen. But they will probably be fairly easy to get hold of soon enough. That's usually how this works. They just have a short lead time before they become freely available. They're sort of entirely similar to Prusa ones, but with two key differences. First one is that they're not Prusa ones. The second one is that on the extruder, I'll show you, maybe you can see these two thumb screws here. These actually hold the hot end in. On the Creality, that's not a thing, so I don't know. I feel like Prusa probably put that in the design for some reason. I think this thing was a collab with E3D, so yeah, I think it's probably been thought through. I would guess that the screws push the copper part of the cool bit of the heatsink or the nozzle against the heatsink, if that makes sense. So without that compression, you're relying on essentially the thermal compound. It does appear to work, but I think it would have been better if there was a grub screw or something in there to hold that in place, but of course that would make the nozzle harder to change, which indeed it is on the Prusa. I don't really like thermal compound on screws like this. It just annoys me and it's messy. I don't know if that's standard or if they've just done that to the machines they've sent us. Perhaps you can get away with just putting a bit of thermal compound on the copper bit, which is kind of a bit like how Bamboo does it with their hot ends. We'll see about that. So what else? The wheels are small again, these ones on the stepper motor. On the K1 and the Max, the stepper drive wheels, these pulleys, they were huge, which gave it more speed in exchange for less torque. And I think that they probably didn't expect it was also in exchange for more VFAs. In case that acronym doesn't haunt you at night, that means vertical fine artifacts, which all printers do. Yes, even the Mark IV, but the K-series really excelled at. The cause of VFAs, in my opinion, it's not just my opinion, was these wheels, so I imagine that's why they've swapped back to the smaller ones, and I do think that is a good move. It does mean that the steppers have to drive faster to achieve the same overall speed on the toolhead, but that doesn't seem to bother this printer, and of course other printers work that way, like Vorons and stuff, so I'm sure it's fine. Besides, the steppers are absolutely huge, so I really don't imagine that they're going to run out of torque in this application. One other big thing that I'm really happy about, and I think more experienced users will be happy about, is that they have actually enabled root access out of the box, rather than having to wait a while as they have done with the previous models. The OS in general is actually virtually identical in any other way, but you now have the choice to put other operating systems on, and that's obviously great because that's one of the things that people have complained about with previous versions, and so they've clearly taken that on board and released it from day one. I don't know what the situation is with the source code, but I imagine, again, that will be released as soon as they can. I haven't actually looked. So, we should probably talk about the C. Not Creality, the C on the end of the product name. It's supposed to stand for carbon, as in carbon fibre filled filament. This is not really something I print too often. In fact, if I'm honest, I don't think I've ever printed carbon fibre filament, so that's kind of weird. I should probably do that. Maybe a future video on carbon filament, since I have a few unopened boxes that I've accrued over the years. Creality also sent me some CFPLA along with some high flow ASA, which is another material that this machine should excel at like its two predecessors. With respect to the carbon bit though, I am slightly confused because I don't think that this machine necessarily needed to exist for that purpose. The K1 and the Max are both perfectly capable of printing carbon fibre filaments, which I guess is probably also going to confuse some people. I think they are focusing on wear though. So the new nozzle that they're supplying is a tri-metal nozzle integrated. I think that means hardened somehow, and it looks hardened. I would look closer at it, but I kind of don't want to get it. It's covered in that heatsink stuff. I have asked Creality to send me a new nozzle, and they are going to do that so that I could take some closer pictures of it, and we know what that means if we watch the last video. But for the moment, all we really get is that the nozzle is designed with carbon fibre in mind, which probably means hardened, and that certainly appears to be the case. I've done some tests on the K1C and the results are sort of on par with the K1 and Max generally, but I'll be honest, I'm kind of confused. The included models were actually neater than the ones I've been slicing. When you use Creality Print provided profiles, it's kind of another story compared to the included models. I'm not really sure how they slice the included models or whether we have two teams not talking to each other, but I don't have the settings that they use to slice those models that come with the machine. I've changed a few things around with the profile and I'll stick that on Patreon. But it was just so far changing flow rates if you want to do that yourself and tweaking some other obvious things, like I think line width and speeds of certain parts of the walls, but there's a fair bit more that seems to need to be done to get good output. I'll probably keep trying if I have time. By the way, this is my new cube, and it's on Printables and Thangs. I will link to it in the description. It's a general purpose diagnostic print that performs a lot of simultaneous tests about the quality of the printer. It doesn't do skew, so yeah, you don't need to comment about that. If you know what I'm talking about, then yeah. I've actually written a 14-page guide on the intricacies of how to use this thing and what everything means, but for that you'll need to be a patron. The cube, however, is free, and you can figure it out for yourself, which for the most part I think you probably can. For example, the screw snaps off and you can check it fits inside the screw hole. The machine is clearly capable of good output, so it probably is just a tuning thing. This isn't really unusual, especially not for Creality, but it's obviously preferable to have well-tuned profiles out of the box. I guess maybe because the machines are new and these profiles are also new, it might happen later. We'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, for everything else K1C related, I think it's kind of not worth recovering the same ground as I did in the K1 and Max reviews because everything else is the same. I'll link those below in the description, so check those out. I think this will turn out to be a fairly respectable printer overall, but as with the K1 originally, I'm slightly concerned that changing the hot end this much might cause some of the similar teething issues that we had with the K1, which were of course fixed by the time the K1 Max came out. And of course that will only become evident once this printer starts getting produced and into the hands of a lot more users. That's when you start to see how really reliable it is. In terms of should you buy it, then I still really like the K1 Max, and it's proven itself because I use it almost daily, while the K1 I don't really use daily because I prefer the Max. So I think if you're in the market for a K1 Max, then I think that is the printer to get, but if you are in the market for a smaller format one, then I think the K1C is probably the better printer to get. I don't know if it obsoletes the K1 or if that's the plan down the road, but I feel like it kind of might. As always, put your comments below and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching.